It's episode number 99 here
Whoa!
on Boarderline alongside Bernie. I'm Jeff. Thanks for tuning in for another week as we come to you live. Well, I guess not live. We're live, but by the time you all see this, it'll be Thursday night, so not live. But
not live.
Bernie's in Wilmington. I'm in Charleston. Again, thanks for tuning in. So many topics to get to. We actually have a lot to talk about, despite the fact that we still don't have any action on the boards until this coming weekend. I got to tell you, I'm actually kind of, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm kind of missing it. It's like I feel like all of a sudden, like it's been a while since we've had an open, and you and I were just talking about this, and I get it. You know, it's. I get it. Not everyone can get there, right? It's in Rhode Island, and not everyone's going to get there. But still, at least it's going to be some action. It'll be some big time competition, and I know there's going to be some storylines that come out of there. So like I'm ready. It's like let's do it. I want to see at least a little bit of something. So at least we'll have enough this weekend.
I forgot to tell you. You sent me. We usually text and just decide what we're going to talk about, and I forgot to say it. It's one of the things on my mind, even though it's just a short blurb. They did have the Battle of the Queens last weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, I saw some social media on that. Sure,
and that sounds great, but guess who won? Swept.
It's a one-trick.
I mean, you know, and it's like and the funny thing is, in the women's final, you had the two pregnant girls, Cameron and Cheyenne throwing down. But I just at some point, until someone beats her in a big moment, it's hard to talk about, honestly.
Bernie,
I want to talk about the women's game, and I want them to get better, and I want them to be a bigger piece of the cornhole pie. But until someone can get over Cheyenne, you can't really say anything else.
Dude, I could not agree more. And I've probably told this story on this podcast before, but I was working in TV when Bob Huggins got the job at Kansas State. And after he gave his opening remarks about being the new head basketball coach at Kansas State, someone asked him about the rivalry between Kansas State and Kansas. And he said, well, wait a second. You know, for it to be a rivalry, don't both sides have to win? Like, you really want to talk about this one, just one team? And the K-State fans were just dead quiet. It was inside their basketball facility, right? And all of them were like, oh, that hurts, but oh, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, really, I'm with you. I'd love to talk about it too, but it's gotten to the point where, like, the reason I talked about Cheyenne on the podcast at the end of the regular season was because I thought it was notable that she won everything. Like, to win everything, I don't care what sport it is, to win everything, to win a Grand Slam, whatever, is impressive. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, to talk about it from week to week when it's the same person all the time, meh. I'm with you.
And it's not her fault. Look,
no,
it's not. It is not. No one's besmirching her name.
Yeah,
at some point, the other women have to step up. Have to. But I think not only. Is there a little bit of I wouldn't even say a talent gap necessarily, but there's a mental gap, and it's about tight moments. Who handles tight moments better with all the ladies on tour, and it's Cheyenne, and then everyone else can talk about second.
Yeah, that is a great point. I'm with you. I agree.
Because, you know, it's not like she doesn't win 21-0. So I should make it, you know, I should say it a little different than that. It's not like she wins these matches 21-4 or 21-8, you know, and it's just kind of a domination. But if you know it's 16-17, well, you know who's going to get the last 5 points or 4 points. Yeah. You just know it. And that's where her dominance truly lies.
So great, yes, but not real sexy to talk about. You're right.
Exactly.
It's the same thing over and over. It's the same book, and we know how it ends.
Yeah,
you just read the same book over and over and over.
Yeah, until someone writes a new one, right? I mean,
yeah. I'm still waiting, and this may not be a popular thought. I'm still waiting for Miranda Coy. I mean, she just has the attitude. She's got an incredibly consistent bag, you know, and the spin rate and the fact that we know she can roll, right? I mean, she's done it before. She was the roll queen. It's like, let's go. Like, let's start. You know, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to. Rosie always gets really close. Rosie's done a good job really competing with her, and Samantha has at times too. But somebody's got to start.
Rosie can get her on the floor. Rosie can't really get her on the broadcast court.
Yeah.
And I don't think Rosie's game. I mean, Rosie's basically This sounds bad. She's a poor man's version of Cheyenne, right? It's the exact same game coming right back at you. She slides a lot more. Cheyenne has a little more variety, but I like your call on Miranda. I think, like I said, I talked about it the last time we spoke about this, that yes, Cheyenne and Sarah in the women's world doubles championship match did win fairly easy because they got up so big early. But during that match, I felt that Cheyenne was put in some difficult positions by Miranda. I thought, she got some points up. Miranda got some points off of her, and someone would say, well, you're up 19-2. Are you really trying that hard anymore anyway, right? But you could tell. I mean, just the decisions she was having to make because of what Miranda was doing to her. She was playing offensive against her, and I'm with you. Players like that have a chance. They just have to be. They've got to up their consistency level, right? You can't be giving up fives. That's the problem. Like, yes, you can play that style, and we talk about when you want to play that dirtier style, you have to be able to collect bags because if not, all of a sudden you have a couple bad rounds. Those are both fives. All of a sudden you've given up 10 points in 2 rounds, and things are getting away from you. So it's. But I'm with you. A player like Miranda, there's a couple others that I think could give her trouble, but until they get over the mental hump, is what it is.
Well, it actually kind of feeds a little bit into, like you're talking about how, Cheyenne's winning everything. Yes, some of the scores are close, but she's still winning. And it kind of feeds into one of the things I wanted to talk about this week is that, cornhole is no different. I was thinking about this weekend because I went had a great time. I got a chance to go out to Oklahoma. We totally called an audible. Last time you and I talked, I was going to Texas, right?
Right.
And it was going to be a great weekend in Texas. We had tickets to Game 6 of the World Series on Friday, and we had tickets to Texas, Kansas State college football game on Saturday. We were going to spend the weekend in Austin. It was going to be great. Well, then all of a sudden the Rangers decided to just kick the snot out of the Diamondbacks and win it in 5. So no tickets for Friday night. And then with Texas's quarterback being out, we weren't sure it was going to be much of a game. It ended up being a really good game, actually. But so my buddy who's from Oklahoma.
Hold on. Time out. I know you're in the middle of a story. I'm so sorry. What are you doing not kicking the field goal in overtime, K-State coach? That's the single worst decision I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, go ahead.
Texas, isn't this one of those situations where one team didn't win? They just kind of gave. Texas didn't really win that game, right? Kansas State really blew it. Kansas State had a couple opportunities, and they missed 2 field goals earlier in the game.
Right? Sorry, I was actually watching at that point. I was like, "What's this guy doing? What's he doing?" What's he doing
this year, right? Coaches this year made really quick. Remember that was it? Who was the coach? Oh, Miami. Remember the Miami coach?
What are they? What are they doing? They're overthinking.
Instead of taking a knee, they give it to the running back. He fumbles. Georgia Tech gets it, scores, and wins.
Yes, is it a 1 in 100 type situation? Yes, but they happen. They do happen. Yeah. No, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was watching that. I was like, that's the single dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So basically my buddy calls and he lives in Oklahoma and he's like, dude, he said, are you okay if I call on Audible? And I call him Herf. I call him Big Herf. It's a long story, but he is big. He's big. He's about 6'4", 6'5". Probably he's got to be over 300 pounds. He's a big dude.
Sissy.
He actually played baseball at, right. Yeah. You can say that. I'm not going to say that.
I'm not going to say it either.
Truly one of my great friends. So he actually pitched at Oklahoma. Big old left-hander. Big old southpaw. So pitched at Oklahoma, and he was actually a first-round pick by the St. Louis Cardinals out of Oklahoma. And then unfortunately, with baseball, such a grind, man. It's such a journey. Yeah. So many kids are so good, right? But it takes so long, and unfortunately, Mike did get hurt, so he never quite made it. But anyway. But just a big old Oklahoma guy. So he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, brother," he's like, "You mind if I call an audible on you?" And I'm like, "Herf, I trust you, man." I'm like, "What do you got?" He's like, "I got Bedlam in my backyard this weekend." And I can't. He sounds
Bedlam
like
ever,
Keith.
man.
Like I can't even do his voice. Like he makes me sound like Mickey Mouse. He's literally. If I had him on the phone right now, you'd think, holy
I
shit,
saw you,
you're friends
dude.
with
I
Toby
saw
Keith.
your seats, man. 50-yard line, last bedlam ever. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So
That's
all right.
ridiculous.
All right, so I'll wrap up the story and then get to my point. Yeah. So anyway, so he yells Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. So we call an audible. So I fly to Dallas, rent a car, drive up to Oklahoma. So no tickets, right? So we got all kinds of tailgates we can go to because he knows everybody there. And there's a bar in Edmond, Oklahoma that everyone hangs out at. Whether you're an OSU fan living in Oklahoma City or you're an OU fan, everyone goes to this bar, Louis. So that's the first place we went to was Louis, and it was great. So and this is Friday night. So we are as Herf likes to say, we are marinating in the culture, brother. I mean that's just what he likes to do. Because we've done this before. We
I
go in
hear
the
you.
night early and we marinate in the culture. So we're at
I
Louis.
feel it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we had a great time. So we go to the game on Saturday, and we don't have tickets. He's like, "Don't worry about it." And again, I'm like, "Hey, Perf, I trust you. I trust you."
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, one of the tailgates is Pistol Pete. Now his name's Preston, but he was Pistol Pete. For those of you who don't know, by the way, I
Yeah.
probably should have clarified this on my social media. Pistol Pete is the mascot for Oklahoma State. And whoever is Pistol Pete, it's a huge honor to be Pistol Pete. Just like at the Ohio State University, whoever the
trombone
tuba player is,
tuba player,
or the sousaphone player, whoever dots the I.
Yeah.
I mean, like you are never forgotten if you're the guy who dots the I at Oklahoma State. If you're Pistol Pete, you don't pay for a thing for the rest of your life. So Pistol Pete's got this great tailgate right outside the stadium. So we're at Pistol Pete's tailgate. And we're kind of getting out the word as we're talking to everybody and drinking and everything, that we don't have tickets. Well, I'm not saying anything, but Big Herf is putting the word out that we need tickets.
Herf.
Anyway, make a long story short, we're hanging out with Pistol Pete all day. He's literally signing autographs for me. Just a great guy. I mean, he's got kids now. He's not quite as old as I am, but doesn't matter. He's Pistol Pete. So anyway, Pistol Pete decides last minute that he's actually gonna take one of his daughter's tickets, and go with his other daughter into the game and sit in the student section with her and her friends. So he's like, if they let me in on the student ticket, and of course he's gonna get in. He's Pistol Pete. If they let me in on her ticket, I'm gonna transfer you my 2 tickets. And so sure enough, he gets in and he transfers us his tickets, and away we go. The only bad thing is that it's Pistol Pete, and he's got tickets on the 45-yard line. We're like 20 rows up, and so we're like, this is like the closer we get to our seats, we're like, this is going to be amazing. And we get there right, and we're like, this is. People are looking at us like, well, wait a second,
you're not Pistol Pete.
Where's Pistol
you weren't
Pete?
Pistol.
It's like we ruined the party because Pistol Pete wasn't there. But no, they were. I'm joking, but I mean, but not when we first showed up. They were like, where's Preston at?
Yeah.
But we ended up having a great time. Everyone around us was awesome, and it ended up being just
what a moment!
Incredible, yeah, an incredible game, incredible finish. I felt really. I mean, I really didn't care who won. I was kind of. I mean, I was there with Herf, and he's an OU guy. We're both dressed in black because we're trying to be neutral, right?
Yeah.
And but I was kind of rooting for the Cowboys because I really kind of wanted to see them win one. Like they never win that game. They never win Bedlam. But they did win it. But going back to my point, so it's a long story. I'm sorry, but it was a fun weekend. But it's and going back to what we were talking about with trying to beat Cheyenne, and this was a topic I wanted to talk about today because I've seen a lot of posts on social media from cornhole players. You are not alone. Whether you're a professional cornhole player, you're a college football player, you're an NBA basketball player, college basketball, whatever. It's hard to win, isn't it? At the professional level of any sport, it's so hard to win. And yes, you can talk about Rosie. We can talk about Samantha. We can talk about Sarah. We can talk about Miranda. We can talk about some of the top players. They get close, but they can't beat her, right? They can't knock her off. It's hard to win. And I saw a post from Joe Neested just today before we came on, saying, hey, I haven't gotten off to my best start or something like that, but he was heading somewhere to put in some extra work, and he promises he'll be back. And here's a player, who is one of the top pros in the game. Yeah. It's a struggle. It's hard to be a pro. It's hard to win. The Eagles beat the Cowboys again, right? Mm-hmm. And the Eagles fans were all upset because they didn't play their best game. You don't often play your best. I'm sorry, you don't. It's hard to win. And and it just got me thinking that even for Oklahoma, they normally just walk in and win, right? They just win Bedlam. That's what they do. It doesn't matter. We can't underestimate, and we need to appreciate these players who do this. You know, the LeBron James, the Michael Jordan.
Sure.
You know, it's hard to do what they do. It really is.
That's what makes them special.
Yeah.
That's what makes them special. It's not necessarily some sort of gross talent advantage. I would say LeBron James for 6'8", 255, freak of nature athlete, right? I think this Victor Wayamba kid that's 7'3", plays like a guard, 7'9" wingspan. I think that's just a gift, right? You are physically more gifted than everyone else. But some of these other players that when you think about it, I don't think Tiger Woods, for example, let's go golf. I wouldn't say Tiger Woods was the most physically gifted of his era. I mean, most golfers would say Phil may have had more natural golf ability than Tiger. But Tiger was a grinder, and nobody was more clutch. Nobody during his prime. Nobody. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. He made, and the problem is, I think the millennials and Gen Zers have grown up with such crazy winners that it seems like this is how it should be, right? I mean, they grew up at the end of Tiger Woods' career. They had Tom Brady's career, LeBron. They've had these careers to just look at. I wouldn't say that we had that necessarily, right? I mean, like, I'm trying to think of people. I mean, maybe a Magic Johnson, maybe a Michael Jordan.
I think you're right. I feel like I think we had better.
But they lost. We got to see them lose, but we saw them lose a lot too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think we had dynasties. I think we had great rivalries. I think you're right.
Yeah, and it was just a little different.
They grew up with dynasties. Like my nephew.
They grew up.
He's a Patriots fan.
And even, all right, let's say even in their, like, if millennials in their youth, the Yankees won how many World Series out of 6 years did they win? When they were so it's like those millennials and Gen Zers, they expect, because everything they've seen on television as they've grown up, hey, win, win, win. That's all these people do. It's super easy. Look how they do it. And I think it's
talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think right. There you go, DJ Khaled fan. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It's not as easy as it seems in this last 2-3 decades. Just not. And it's been abnormal. It's an abnormal period in sports. I mean, all right. God, this is literally going to pain me to say. Literally, it's going to hurt so bad to say this. But Duke basketball.
Oh God,
I think
both of us. That's just mean.
But I think it's unfair because they don't win anything, but yet everyone loves them. Right, like they've won 2 titles since since 2000, which is more than most.
That's hard to believe. Yeah, that's hard to believe.
They won. Let's see, 2015, right? They won 2010, and then maybe 2001. Maybe they've got 3 since 2000, but not many. But when you consider that, but it's hard to be that good all the time, right? It's like that's the point I'm getting to is they're amazing. They are always in your top 5. They are a top 10 program. It literally makes my skin crawl, but they really are that good, but they don't win that much.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is to win. I mean, that's your point. I mean, you look at a team that's just throwing guys in the NBA, throwing them in the NBA. They've got unbelievable amounts of talent, but it's that hard to win. Now, the argument could be made if they stayed in school, how much would they win? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
So much. It takes so much. I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's being physically gifted, but it's being mentally tough as well. And I see that with cornhole. It's hard to win. I mean, a lot of it is a mental game and being mentally tough and getting over that hurdle. How much of it is mental that some of these other girls can't beat Cheyenne? Maybe it's a lot. Maybe it's a lot mental. I don't know, but it takes so much.
There are a couple that have spoken to me. I'm going to say it's off the record because I'm not going to say their names. But one of them one time said, well, I got to play Cheyenne, and just kind of rolled her out. Like, she was basically saying, I'm going to lose to Cheyenne.
Yeah.
But the way she said it, well, I got to play Cheyenne. And it's just like she was like, the way that she said it is like, well, that's over. She's not going to be.
And that's something that I see. That to me, that's what separates high level college and professional players who are successful. They believe they're going to win. You know, whether they win or not, I mean, chances are most of the times they don't win, but it doesn't matter. They just have this just weird, and I'm not like this. So it stands out to me. I wish I was more like this. They instantly think they're going to win. They win. They think that the Oklahoma State players, You ask all those starters, and maybe some backups. I don't know. Maybe they don't have this, but you ask most of the guys on that field for Oklahoma State, they thought and knew they were going to win.
Yeah.
So what you say is, I mean, that's critical. Like if there are some of these females who are saying, "Oh, I got to play her now. This isn't going to happen." You're beat already.
You're done.
I'm sorry, but you're beat already. You
haven't thrown a bag and it's over.
And it can't be fake. You can't just say, "Okay, I'm going to win." Like
exactly. I was going to make that point. That's so true.
Yeah, I think true winners and true champions, it's just in them, Bernie.
You feel it
innately in. I can't do that. I can't fake it. I'm not like that. But that's why I'm doing a podcast and I'm not on the field. But we've in them.
Yeah, we've seen this. Yeah, we've seen this 100 times with athletes from different sports. The ones that come out and talk about how great they are. You can tell that's almost false. You know what I mean? Like you can tell they're just trying to make up for the fact that they don't really believe that's how great they are. Because the ones that truly are, they know it. They might make an inference to it here and there. You know, I mean, Muhammad Ali kind of was an exception. You know, but Muhammad Ali lost. I mean, 3-time world champion. That means he lost 3 times as well.
Right. Yep.
You know, I mean, like he was the only one that kind of said it where you thought he might believe it, even though I think sometimes he wasn't really sure. But like the guys that have it, they don't really talk like that.
I know. It's just in them. It's just innately in them.
I mean, on the court, maybe. I mean, Michael Jordan, like people talk about what a jerk he was on the court. I mean, he was going to let you know, but Larry Bird was that way too. They were going to absolutely just drill you, and they would tell you they're going to drill you. But I mean, I just think that you know what I'm talking about. Especially, we see it all the time in every sport. These athletes and their bravado reeks of insecurity. You know what I mean? Like they're in an interview and they're talking about how great they are and how good their team is. It's like you don't believe it for a second, man.
No.
You can see right through you. You don't believe it at all. And then the guys that always win, Tom Brady, for example, he was never going to be in an interview. I mean, he would talk about how good the team is and how solid, but it was never, you know, in your face as much. But probably on the field it was. You know, we don't really get a chance to hear exactly what's being said on the field. I'm sure it was, but yeah,
no, I'm with
the
you.
True winners,
the people. It's like I mean, the people who say that they're going to. You're right. Is that a false bravado? Probably. You know, because the ones who really do it don't talk about it. It's like, you know what it is? It's like on when you first meet someone, right? And you go on a date, and this girl tells you that she's not high maintenance. Anyone who says they're not high
100% high maintenance,
red flag, you are high maintenance. I'm telling you that right now, girls.
You've already made yourself high maintenance in conversation.
Check, please. I'm out. She's high maintenance. Same thing.
Yeah. Same thing. If she talks about how she's had a terrible relationship with her dad, you're going to have a fun evening, but it better be just one evening.
I'm not into shopping. She's absolutely into shopping. Yeah, I'm not a shopper.
I love sports.
Yeah. Yes. All right, we better stop this right now. This is gonna go down a bad rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. So I mean, the ones who say, you know, who have that false bravado, they don't have it. The ones who have it, it's just innately in them. All right. So here's the other thing that I thought about as well, and something that, and I'm going to make the crossover to teams play in the American Cornhole League with this, is that I love the format that we're going to, where it's going to be like baseball, where literally every game is going to matter at the end of the season. However, I hope we don't, and I don't think we're going to, but I hope we don't have too many games. And you and I talked about this before, right? Like baseball, way too long. And I think baseball will finally, at some point, succumb to the fact that 162 games in this generation is just too many,
unnecessary.
But this is what I love about college football. Every game matters, and you know they're going to this 12-team playoff next year.
I'm all about it. And I'm all about it, man.
I like it. I don't want it to be any more than that. I always felt like 8 would be a good number.
Eight's probably best. I'm with you.
I can do with 12 because I still want every game to matter. Right now, again, going back to Oklahoma State, what is biting them in the ass right now? They lost to South Alabama.
Oh,
so they are 7-2. Their first game of the year, they lost to South Alabama. You know what? You have to win that game, and it's at home.
Come on, come on. That's ridiculous.
Every game matters.
North Carolina's lost 2 terrible games, but not to a team like South Alabama. That is, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And you know what's awful is they're going to 35, 40 years of age, the ones especially that don't have long NFL careers, and they're going to look back and go, man, we threw that one day away, and it's going to cost us a memory forever.
It's going to kill
you
them.
know.
It's going to kill
and
them.
it's but
I love that.
I like
but again,
I like the 12 game
college football.
Yeah, I like the 12 game because I'm hoping we're probably not going to get it from some coaches, but I think it'll allow some coaches to play better teams out of conference, because you can now have one loss, right? Especially the bigger teams, like, you know what, maybe even 2 losses are now possible. So you can, instead of playing Alabama, playing Western Carolina, maybe you get more of the Alabama playing Oklahoma. Well, they're in the same conference. Alabama playing Michigan, or these big, huge games during the season that a lot of those teams are kind of running away from, especially in Michigan's running away from all of them. But you would maybe get some of that if one loss doesn't destroy your season.
Well, to your point, I think a good example of that is Alabama. Alabama's one loss is to Texas, because they went out of conference. Well, at least for this year. It won't be out of conference next year. But they went out of conference and took a shot, played Texas, and got beat. But that's their only loss. So they still have a chance, depending on how things. Well, more than likely they'll still get into the And
how good does that win make Texas look? By the way,
next year they will. And Alabama would easily be in. This year they're on the outside looking in. I get it. But not. I mean, to your point, not a terrible loss. But again, to my point, I love in college football that every game matters. Like in college basketball, right? My alma mater, Kansas, is playing Duke coming up, or no, Kentucky coming up. We play Indiana. We play some blue bloods of college basketball.
I hear you.
And, I love that Kansas and Bill Self will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. I love that.
Hear you.
But you know what? If we lose, it's not going to kill me.
Yeah, but it's a great game early.
But it's all about what you do.
I hear you.
Every Saturday in college football, like, I loved being there. That game mattered, and I want every game to. So with team, again, bring this back to cornhole. With teams, I want to make sure that every matchup matters, and that we don't get the season too big, which I don't think we're going to.
But it comes, but Jeff, also you have to look at it, especially with college football. Sometimes human beings have a bad day. And just having one bad day is going to ruin a whole season, when everyone can know from an eye test that's probably the best team in the country. They had one bad day, now they're out of it. I don't necessarily think that's right, and I think that's why we've seen things expand, right? You don't do that in the NFL. You don't look at, oh, wow, well, that team was really good, but those 2 weeks, man, they don't belong in the playoffs. And I think
totally good with the NFL schedule, because you're right. It's not going to. It's you have 1 or 2 bad days, it's not going to kill you.
But I get what you're saying, because for the longest time, when you had conference, when you played 11 games, remember when it was just 11 in the regular season for college, and every game did matter. Every game was huge. Every game was a playoff game. It was 11-week playoff. Yeah,
and it's every Saturday. So much fun. We had such an incredible time. And that's one of the reasons why I still enjoy going back home and going to an Iowa game, because even though Iowa frustrates me to no end, as everyone who listens to the show knows, we still go on Saturdays. You know why? Because Iowa maybe can sneak up and beat Michigan, right? Maybe we sneak up and beat Ohio State every once in a while. There's always a chance, and that one game matters, right? It just matters. It's just so exciting. I just love it.
By the way, I have an argument against your offense-defense thing concerning Iowa this week. Iowa and North Carolina are both 7-2. One of your losses is to a team that we beat 31-13, and you're still ranked ahead of us because of your defense.
I did see that. I'm like, how in the hell is this possible? Imagine if
we don't have one.
Score. So, imagine if we could score, like at all score, like imagine if we were literally dead last.
If you're an average offense, you're talking every season about the playoffs.
Yep.
If you were just average, because your defense is that good. But it's I live the exact opposite as a fan. We've got a great offense. Defense is horrid, and it's been horrid for years. I don't even see how that's possible.
Yep.
It's almost like you would make a mistake into one that was decent every now and then, but no.
My point on offense versus defense has always been that I appreciate defense. You need defense to win, but you will not consistently win championships by just being a defensive player.
No,
can a defensive team? Yeah, it happens every once in a while. Look at Virginia. Virginia won the national championship. Was that 3 years ago when they won it?
Perfect example. That's actually a great example, Jeff, because they also became the first 1 seed to lose to a 16 because they couldn't play offense.
Exactly.
It's a great example. Yeah.
When Eric Davis wins a world championship in singles, come talk to me in cornhole. That's a defensive player, right? Everyone's talked about Eric Davis from the second I came into this game. You know what? His DPR this, which I still hate DPR. Well, I don't hate it. I appreciate DPR. I don't like that it's one of our top 2.
Statistical, measures
and all stats that we use to evaluate someone's game. Please. But yeah, so when a player like Eric Davis, who's defensive minded or defensive style playing, wins, world championship in singles, then we'll talk. But yeah. So yeah, can defensive teams win? Yeah, Virginia wins, Iowa wins. I get it. You're not going to win championships. Not consistent.
Yeah. I agree. It's you need both. I mean, look at NFL this year. The Ravens have a really good defense, but their offense is awful. Even with a guy that wasn't even that long ago, everyone thought he was a cheat code at quarterback, and now the defensive coordinators have figured him out, and their offense is terrible.
Right.
But their defense is good. But will they make the playoffs? Probably. Are they going to even come close to the Super Bowl? No. So that's your point. Their defense is good enough to get them in the playoffs. At some point, you got to score points.
Yep. All right. Couple more things before we get to on, off, and in. All right. So one of the it's funny. This question came up multiple times to me this weekend while I was in Stillwater. I think you may agree with me on this, but it was an interesting question. Just something to kind of. And I was gonna text you this, but I would rather get like your organic reaction to it. And I think I know what you might say, but again, I think it was at least 2, and it might have been 3 people who asked me this. My opinion on what sport is cornhole most like for broadcasting. I mean, they were talking about it, kind of in broadcasting terms and in playing terms. I don't know why this was a topic, but and I don't know why it came up multiple times. It's kind of weird, but I'm like, wow, okay, I just had this conversation, but it got me thinking. So what sport, major sport? Don't say bowling. I don't even really want tennis. Like what major sport?
Then there is none.
Cornhole be
there's
most
not
like?
One. If you take away tennis and you take away bowling, there's not one that really equates.
I think I've got one though, and it might be
a major sport.
Well, all right, maybe major. All right, just give me one. Let's just take major out of it. Here, I'll tell you mine first, right? Because as far as broadcasting goes, people ask me this all the time, and I feel like it's got a little bit of baseball in it because of the fact that when we play first 1 to 21, it can be long, right? I mean, at times you're like, oh boy, what are we going to talk about for the next 40 minutes, right? So in that case, it's like baseball. You're telling stories. You're talking about the backgrounds. You're talking about their journey to get there. You're giving the score. You're analyzing. I mean, but I love that. Don't get me wrong. So
you're talking about from an announcer's perspective or just an average fan's perspective?
I'm talking about both. So announcer-wise, there's a little bit of baseball in there, a little bit of basketball in there because it can go back and forth. But I almost feel like if I had to pick one, mentally, physically, I think I almost might pick golf.
Yeah. I've always thought so,
one, because I also made the comparison with a few people that it's like baseball with these guys, the way that they can, cut it, they can cut it this way and they cut it this way. They can roll it. They can.
It's like pitching. It's like pitching in baseball.
They got 5 different pitches. We talk about this, right?
Yep.
4 or 5 different pitches. They got a fastball. They can push whatever.
Yep.
But I think if you had to choose one, what is the sport most like when you're talking to someone who doesn't watch all the time? I almost kind of think golf, just with. Like, and there was one guy who said the reason why this came up. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. The reason why this came up is because one of the guys who talked to me about it said, I feel like when I'm watching cornhole, it's like watching putting only in the Masters or in a major tournament because there's so much pressure on every single bag. It's almost like you're standing over a putt, all day to try and win a major. And I was like, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
I see golf in the match play, like in the Ryder Cup when they have match play, where it's by hole, not by stroke play. So every shot that you hit sometimes is hit to affect what your opponent does. So, for example, in match play, if you're not familiar with how match play works in golf, it's who wins the hole, and then if you win that hole, you go 1 up, and then you play that way. Your goal through 18 is to have the most points. Anyway.
Right.
I said it wrong, but. Anyway, like, so when you hit a
Go ahead.
drive,
Yeah, I got you.
all right, so if you hit a drive right down the middle, you've then put more pressure on your opponent to hit a drive down the middle. And if you hit your second shot 5 feet from the pin, you've then put an immense amount of pressure on your opponent if they're hitting after you. So there is this give and play, because golf most of the time is you against the course. Other people don't matter. But in match play, it's really affecting the other person and what they do. And I think golf and cornhole have a symbiotic relationship there, because every bag you throw, even if you're just playing the slide game, is putting pressure on the other person or giving them an opening. However, whichever way it works. But I think of it in those terms as another sport.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the pitching analogy a lot. But
is it similar to bowling? Yeah, maybe mentally, but again, bowling.
It's still you against the pins. Yeah, there's no defense in bowling. Yeah,
right.
There is a lot of defense.
I like yours with the match play in golf. I think that's even better than just golf alone.
Yeah. Because you are every shot you hit is still you against the course, but it's also you to put pressure on the guy you're playing against.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to feel free and easy. And that's one of the things I talk about when we talk about Cheyenne. And one of the problems in the women's game is you don't have a lot of dirtier players. There's a few, not many. And so basically you're allowing Cheyenne to just get in grooves, right? She'll just sit there, and that's what the top players don't let her do.
Mm-hmm.
Top 20 guys, they're not going to let her do that.
You.
They're going to stop you. They're going to make her hit other shots and get out of a rhythm and do different things. And the women aren't doing that to her.
Right.
And so she just sits there and makes shots. But if you get a guy like Matt Guy, who's going to throw a 10-4, on average, and he's going to have, matches in the 11s, even if you're, how do you keep up with that? The guy's making every bag. I mean, it drains you because you can't make mistakes, but it does. Every shot affects the other player, even in singles, and I love that. I love it.
But yeah, so it got for some reason it got me into some interesting conversations with people. But it brings up another larger point here. There was we got a little bit of pushback from a viewer who wanted me to stop talking about cornhole as far as comparisons to other sports. He's like, cornhole is its own thing. Stop talking about why it compares. How we compare to the NCAA tournament, or how we compare to football. I'm never going to stop doing that, because
all sports,
one, it's fun to talk about, and an athlete is an athlete is an athlete, whether you're a professional cornhole player or you're a professional basketball player, whatever. The mental capacity it takes to win at a professional level of any sport, I don't care what it is, pickleball, you have to be a special talent. So I'm never going to stop making these comparisons back and forth.
Agreed.
The other thing is that I continue, and this is another perfect example. The reason I talk about this on national broadcast is any time that we can equate our sport to make it tangible to somebody else is great. If we have to use the NCAA tournament to compare things to our sport, or majors in golf to kind of compare it to anything that makes it somewhat relatable, that they can really chew on and grasp and say, oh, okay, I get it. That's a win for cornhole.
I agree.
Want it to be relatable. We want to bring in other fans. It's not just about the 500, 1,000 people out there, who eat.
And it's so hard to get them to understand that they think everyone's going to come to us because of our game, and it's not going to happen, because if it was going to happen, it would have already happened.
Yep.
We have to find a way, just like you're saying, to make people understand, there is, that is just like having to hit that putt. That is just like having to hit that shot. That is just like, it's the same mental process.
Yeah.
And so you do have to make those equations, and it's perfect. I think that's being remarkably short-sighted to feel the other way.
Right. It's like in the pro shootout a couple times, I made the comparison. It's like the NCAA tournament. A lot of times you're going to have the blue bloods who make it into the Final Four, but you can have a Cinderella story on any given weekend. So when I say things like this, it's only because we're trying to make our sport relatable. We're trying to make it tangible so that people kind of get what's going on. So I won't stop talking about it.
Because when that happens,
unless Stacey tells me to stop talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, if we get to a point that the average sports fan starts watching all the time, and then we start getting more and more money, and everyone starts making more and more money, that'll be great. That's that's part of the goal, right? You don't want to alienate the rest of the world and just sit in your little pocket. Maybe some people do, but it's not going to be what they, it's almost as if I feel there's a certain group within the old cornhole world that want it to be hidden, alone, but they all want to make a lot of money doing it. It's like, well, that it can't. That doesn't work.
Ain't happening.
It's just not.
All right. Are we ready for on, off, and in?
Sure, why not?
I want to make sure we give ourselves time to do this. By the way, one more little quick wrap here.
I cheated again this week, by the way.
I like it when you do that. It makes it fun. Oh yeah, when I was talking about hard to win, you know how I love going back and looking at the all-time career wins list, right?
Yeah,
I found some crazy things last couple of days I was looking at, but we don't have time. I really kind of wanted to get into it today, but of course, as always, we get it. Into other things. Of all the players who have played this sport, only 125 players have even one career win. Isn't that crazy?
I would have thought. I think I'm surprised it's that many. To be honest with you,
are you? I thought that,
I am.
For all the play. If you think about all the play, now some of these, some of these go back. So when we say wins, how many people were actually there? I don't know. So can you take out 50? 25, 50, maybe you can, but still, of all the players and of all the great players, and I'm talking, and now with all the opens that we've had, and adding more and more tournaments every single year, especially over the last 4 years, only 125 have ever just recorded even one win. So again, it's like we talked about at the beginning. Winning is hard. It's hard.
Winning is very difficult. Yeah, I'm still surprised it's that high. I'm curious. I would like to know what the number is out of the present program.
I know. I'm telling you, we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to
because my guess is it would be fairly small.
Yeah,
because winning's hard. Winning is remarkably difficult.
Even in cornhole.
Now look. All right, golf equation. We've seen guys win majors. We've seen guys win major golf tournaments, and that's their one win ever. 1 out of 2 wins they ever win. Right? Yes, that outlier is out there, but for the most part, the cream always rises.
Yeah. All right. On, off, and in. It's America's favorite podcast segment. I'm not kidding. It's really
big time. It's big.
It's growing by 1 each week.
Yeah. Huge.
All right. So on, off, and in. You want to go first this week?
I can.
All right. Give me your on the board, off the board, in the hole. I
kind of made mention of it before we came on. Did I talk about the weather in the coastal Carolinas in the fall drives me insane? And I think I'm on the board. Look,
it's hard
for those people that want to move to Florida where it's 80 degrees year round. Knock yourself. Do it. Good on you. When it's November, I like to wear a sweatshirt. Right? I like it to be a little brisk outside, and I like to feel like, oh man, Thanksgiving's right there. I can wear, whatever.
Yeah.
It's 80 degrees outside. It's driving me crazy. I'm tired of walking outside and sweating. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. So
I totally agree with you. I cannot tell you how depressing it is for me.
God, it's the worst, man. It's the worst.
When I'm watching college football on a Saturday or broadcasting up in the press box up in Myrtle Beach. And I look up at the TV screen in our press box, or I look at the TV on, at home here, and I see people, wearing jeans and light jackets or sweatshirts and stocking caps and gloves. And and here I am literally sweating.
Yeah.
Sweating. I'm
watching a game last weekend. There's snow on the ground. Like, oh man, look how fun it is for all those folks where I'm going to be in shorts and a t-shirt, sweating my balls off next weekend because it just won't cool off anymore.
Yeah.
I hate it, man. I hate it.
With you. All right, along those same lines, let me give you my on. We got to keep moving here. So my on, when I first moved here, and by here I mean down to the southeast, I was a Big Ten homer, right? Even though I went to Kansas, I grew up on Iowa football as a Big Ten homer, and just poo-pooing the SEC, right? Whatever, the Big Ten's still better. Big Ten, well, all right. Obviously, how'd that work out for me? Not good. So I would say over the last 8 or 9 years, I've been down here for about 15 years, 14, 15 years. So over the last, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years, I'm like, okay, SEC is pretty good. And so I think I'm on the board with it, that the SEC is pretty good. That's why it's driving me crazy that Ohio State and Michigan are getting so much attention right now in the polls. And I get it. Maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe this will be my off the board. But why, Bernie? And again, I grew up in Big Ten country, so my Big Ten fans are going to hate me for this. When are we gonna learn? Like, we know the Big Ten is not going to fit. I looked back. Do you know how many titles, national titles in college football that the Big Ten has since 2002?
Ohio State won, right? No, Michigan
Ohio
State.
State twice. No, in football. Ohio State 2014 and 2002.
How far did
That's it.
Saban get with Michigan State before he went to Alabama? Before he went to LSU?
Maybe that was the 90s. I don't know, but it was. I literally
Yeah,
just looked. Two.
that's crazy. Two.
And even in basketball. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of basketball. But you and I joked about this. I'm not picking Big Ten teams anymore in the NCAA tournament.
No, they're terrible.
Win.
It's
So
that
I think I'm
style.
on the board with this,
It's that awful defensive, slow style that they play. How about Michigan State, top 4 in the country, losing to James Madison at home this past week?
I know, yeah, in basketball. But
Yeah.
so real quick, so the Big Ten is not even the number 1 ranked conference. I looked at it just today before we came on. They are the 3rd ranked conference behind the Pac-12 is still the top ranked conference,
Which is crazy.
Top to bottom strength of schedule, followed by the SEC, then the Big Ten. But yeah, so last Big Ten champion, I mean, they've won it twice since 2002, and both times it was Ohio State. So
yeah, I think that's why Ohio State gets it. Michigan has it almost feels like Michigan's running from everyone to get to the Ohio State game. If they win that game, it sets them up because no offense to your Iowa Hawkeyes, but they know the Big Ten West isn't coming with much heat.
no,
right,
they'll
so
play
they can-
Iowa and they'll win by 100. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're off to the playoff. But yeah,
It'll be the worst game to watch. The final score will be 42-6. No, it'll be 42-5 because Iowa will probably get a safety. All right, off the board. Ready? We got to keep moving.
This is where I cheated, so I'm going to help on time a little bit.
Okay.
This is off the board and my on the board. My health, my knees. I've known forever that I've got to do something with my knees. Minimal. I've been running from it. So my off the board is, I keep running from it. I keep not getting it because I don't want to do the downtime on the surgeries. I don't want to do all that. But, my on is, I'm absolutely right. I have to do it. Like, I'm miserable. Like today when we're done taping, I'm going to the physician because I've got to get it looked at again because the pain, it's just kind of hard to live like this. And that for anyone that's existed with chronic pain, it destroys your day. That's all you're thinking about. It's hard to open your head up to think about other things when you just have this intense spot of pain. So that's my on and off. My off is that I keep running from it. Terrible decision. The reason I've been running from it is because I don't want to get some surgeries now and then have to do it in 5 to 7 years, which is what they tell you. Right. Because
the only in your mid to late 60s.
Right. And so I've been trying to wait to get like complete complete replacements, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I have to go. This is just
so off the board. You're ignoring it. In the hole is
I have to get it done because this is Les Miserables, man. This is just no good feeling this way. So that's quick. That's quick and easy. And see, it's so much on my mind. I put it into the show. I can't think of anything else.
Well, I appreciate you helping us with time, but man, should we just end the show now? Like now I feel bad for you.
It's brutal, man. It's absolutely. Well, I also don't want to get into the truck because that's a feat the way I feel right now to get up into my truck and drive, which I'm going to have to do here in a few minutes.
Well, again, better to do it now than wait until you're mid.
I know. I've got to get it done at some point. I've just been hiding from it because of the downtime and I'm an idiot. Yeah, off the board, man. Way off.
Well, I guess we could end on a lighter note. I'll save my off the board.
Why?
Because my off the board is going to require some discussion because I think you're going to really like it. So I'll save my off the board for next week. My in the hole though will make you laugh. So we can end with
my off and in. Sorry, in the hole. Yeah.
My in the hole. Come on, Dallas Cowboys. You're just not great. You're just not great. I mean, this whole America's team and everything. And trust me, I get it. And all of you people from Texas, I love you. I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan, even though I grew up in Iowa. I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan since the time I was born. I still have my Dallas Cowboys sippy cup that I use. Actually, don't use it. I'm just kidding. I do have my Dallas Cowboys sippy cup. I don't have what my mom does. Huge Cowboys fan since the time I was little. We can't win. America's team. Everyone. Hey, we hate the Cowboys. Why do you hate the Cowboys? We are incredible against teams 500 and below. In big games, not going to win. I should have bet. I bet a little bit. I should have bet $10,000 on the game this past weekend.
What was the line?
Eagles. We've seen this. We've seen it.
Yeah. What was the line?
I can't remember. It was closer than I thought it was going to be. I think the Eagles were favored by, I think maybe a field goal or something. No, it was a little bit more than that, if I remember right. It doesn't matter. They're not going to win.
When was the last time the Cowboys won a playoff game?
They've won 3 playoff games now since 1995. 3.
Okay. 3.
Have not won an NFC Championship game since the Super Bowl in 1995. I mean, but we went years without even winning a playoff game until I think.
I know, because I think the Panthers still have more playoff wins, and they're one of the worst franchises in the league.
You don't need to put salt on the wound. That's my in the hole. Dallas can't win big games. We haven't won big games since 1995, and it was not going to start last weekend. So that's my in the hole. And see, I knew you'd smile on that because the Cowboys,
I grew up. It's so funny. I hated the Cowboys growing up. That's so funny.
I know you did.
Like, why are we watching this group of just no more Danny White, please? That was like, why do I have to watch him again beat up on the Giants?
I love Danny White. I loved all those guys. So many. Just not there anymore.
God, I hated them.
Not there. So sad. All right, dude. Well, I'm sorry about your knees. Let me know how it goes. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, man.
All right. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate it. Episode 100 next week.
Wow. Big plans.
All right. We got to go. I'll see you next week.
See ya.
All right. Bye.